Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Station Liberty, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. The station orbited high above Earth, silent and peaceful in the darkness of space. Jake had served here for 3 years and nothing exciting ever happened. Most days were routine checks and boring paperwork. That changed when the communication officer called out an alarm. "Captain, we're getting a signal from the edge of the solar system. It's not one of ours." Jake walked over to the communication station quickly. "Show me." The main screen lit up with an image that made everyone on the bridge freeze. 50 enormous ships hung in space near Pluto. Each ship was bigger than any space station Earth had ever built. They were dark and threatening, with strange designs that hurt the eyes to look at. "How long have they been there?" Jake asked. "They just appeared, sir." No warning. No engine signatures. They were just suddenly there. Jake felt his heart racing. Earth had always wondered if aliens existed. Now they had their answer, and it did not look good. A new voice came through the speakers. It spoke perfect English, but the tone was cold and empty. "Primitive humans of the third planet. I am Admiral Zektar of the Hegemony Fleet. We have conquered 47 star systems and enslaved hundreds of species. Your pathetic world is now under our control." Jake grabbed the communication device. "This is Captain Morrison of Earth Defense. State your intentions." The alien voice laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Your intentions do not matter, human. We give you 7 of your days to surrender completely. Disarm your weapons. Submit to our rule. Those who cooperate will become workers. Those who resist will die." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in total silence. Jake immediately contacted Admiral Lisa Carter at Earth Defense Command. Her face appeared on the screen within minutes, looking worried and angry. "Jake, tell me you have more information about these ships." "Nothing good, Admiral. They claim to have conquered dozens of worlds. Their technology is clearly advanced beyond anything we have. They want complete surrender in 1 week." Admiral Carter closed her eyes for a moment. "Get me everything you can about those ships. I'm calling an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council." 3 hours later, the most powerful leaders on Earth gathered in the Underground Command Center in Colorado. President Katie Walsh sat at the head of the table, her face pale but determined. Admiral Carter stood next to a large screen showing images of the alien fleet. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a drill. We face an alien invasion force of 50 ships, each one larger than our biggest space stations. They have given us 7 days to surrender or face destruction." Dr. Alex Turner, Earth's top scientist who studied space, raised his hand. "I've analyzed the scans of their ships. The technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their weapons could probably destroy our entire fleet without taking damage." General Carl White, head of Earth's ground forces, slammed his fist on the table. "So what do you suggest? That we just give up? Let them turn every human into a slave?" "I'm just stating facts," Dr. Turner said quietly. "These aliens have conquered dozens of worlds. They know how to win wars." President Walsh stood up slowly. "Dr. Turner, in all your studies of history, have you ever found a species that willingly became slaves?" "Well, no, but..." "And in human history, what happens when someone threatens our families, our children, our freedom?" Dr. Turner thought for a moment. "We fight, even against impossible odds." "Exactly." President Walsh turned to address the room. "I know the odds. I know we're outgunned and outnumbered. But I also know something these aliens don't understand. They picked the wrong species to threaten." Admiral Carter stepped forward. "What are your orders, Madam President?" "Contact every military commander on Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies. Begin immediate mobilization. Dr. Brooks, I want every secret weapon project activated immediately. Colonel Davis, start gathering our scattered fleets." She paused and looked around the room. "And someone get me a direct line to this Admiral Zektar. I have a message for him." 2 hours later, President Walsh stood before cameras that would broadcast her words to both Earth and the alien fleet. Her voice was calm but filled with steel. "To the Hegemony Fleet and Admiral Zektar, you have made a serious mistake. You see Earth as another weak world to conquer. You think humans will surrender out of fear. You are wrong." She stepped closer to the camera. "We have received your ultimatum. Here is our answer. We do not surrender. We do not submit. We do not become slaves. If you want Earth, you will have to take it from our cold, dead hands." The broadcast ended, and President Walsh turned to Admiral Carter. "How long before they attack?" "Unknown, but probably soon. They won't expect defiance, and good, let them underestimate us. It will be their first mistake, but not their last." On the alien flagship, Admiral Zektar watched the human transmission with something close to amusement. In his 300 years of conquest, no species had ever refused to surrender when faced with hegemony power. "Foolish creatures," he said to his second-in-command. "They think courage can defeat superior technology. We will destroy their pitiful fleets in one battle, then watch them beg for mercy." "Should we attack immediately, Admiral?" "No, let them prepare. Let them gather their forces. It will make the victory more satisfying when we crush their hopes completely." Admiral Zektar had conquered 47 worlds using the same strategy. Overwhelming force followed by quick surrender. The few species that had tried to resist were destroyed so quickly that other worlds learned to submit immediately. He expected the same from Earth. The aliens had never encountered a species that became more dangerous when cornered. They had never fought humans. Back on Earth, the mobilization began immediately. Every military base activated. Every ship in the solar system received orders to return to Earth. Factories that made civilian goods suddenly started, producing weapons and ammunition. Captain Morrison watched from the Liberty as ships began arriving from Mars, Europa, and the asteroid colonies. The fleet was small compared to the alien force, but it was growing. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "we're getting reports from all over Earth. Civilian volunteers are joining the military by the millions. Everyone wants to fight," Jake nodded. The aliens had made their second mistake. They thought threatening Earth would make humans afraid. Instead, it made them angry. And angry humans, Jake thought, were the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. The countdown had begun. 7 days until the ultimatum expired. 7 days to prepare for a war that would decide the fate of humanity. 7 days to show the galaxy what humans could do when someone threatened their home. The 7 days passed like a blur of constant activity. Earth had never moved so fast or with such purpose. Every human on the planet understood what was at stake. Freedom or slavery, life or death. There was no middle ground. Colonel Ryan Davis stood in the command center of Mars Base, coordinating the largest military movement in human history. Ships from every corner of the solar system were racing toward Earth. Mining vessels from the asteroid belt had been converted into armed transports. Tourist ships from Europa now carried weapons instead of passengers. "Status report," Ryan called out to his staff. "Sir, we have 347 ships of various sizes heading to Earth. The last convoy from Titan will arrive in 18 hours. Ryan nodded grimly. 300 ships sounded impressive until you remembered the enemy had 50 ships, each one larger than Earth's biggest vessel. It was like comparing fishing boats to aircraft carriers. But Ryan had learned something important during his 20 years in the military. Size wasn't everything. Sometimes the smaller, faster opponent could win if they were smart enough and brave enough. "What about the special projects?" he asked. Lieutenant Nina Foster looked up from her computer. "Dr. Brooks says they're ready. All of them." Ryan smiled for the first time in days. Earth had been preparing for alien contact for 50 years. Not the friendly kind where aliens shared technology and wisdom. The other kind. The kind where aliens wanted to conquer and enslave. Deep underground in laboratories that didn't officially exist, Earth's best scientists had been building weapons. Not just better guns or bigger bombs. Weapons designed specifically to fight enemies with superior technology. Dr. Helen Brooks stood in one of these secret labs, watching her teams make final preparations. Around her, technicians loaded kinetic bombardment satellites with projectiles that could punch through any known armor. Each satellite was invisible to most sensors and could strike targets from orbit with the force of nuclear weapons. "How many satellites do we have ready?" she asked her assistant. 237 in orbit around Earth. Another 50 around Mars and Europa. They've been there for years disguised as communication relays. Helen had spent her entire career preparing for this day. While other scientists worked on peaceful projects, she had studied alien technology captured from crashed ships over the decades. Not many crashes, but enough to learn some important things. Alien technology was advanced, but it followed predictable patterns. Their shields worked well against energy weapons, but were weaker against solid projectiles moving at high speed. Their sensors could detect most electronic signatures, but had trouble with certain frequencies. Most importantly, aliens seemed to think in very organized, logical ways. They followed rules and strategies that had worked for them before. Humans, Helen knew, were much more unpredictable. Captain Morrison received new orders from Earth Defense Command. Instead of staying at the Liberty Station, He was taking command of a special squadron of stealth fighters. These ships were smaller than traditional fighters, designed to avoid detection and strike quickly. "Sir?" His new pilot, Lieutenant Steve Parker, reported for duty. "The squadron is ready. 12 ships, all equipped with the new plasma torpedoes." Jake looked at the young pilot. "Steve, I need to be honest with you. This is a suicide mission. We're going to fly directly into that alien fleet and try to cause as much damage as possible before they kill us." Steve's face didn't change. "Understood, sir." "When do we launch?" "As soon as the ultimatum expires. 6 hours from now." Jake was proud of his pilots, but also sad. They were all volunteers. Young men and women who had chosen to die fighting rather than live as slaves. Earth had thousands of volunteers like them. On the surface of Earth, the transformation was even more dramatic. Amy Johnson, a former Marine sergeant who now worked as a teacher, had organized her entire town into a resistance cell. Every adult had a weapon. Every child knew how to hide and survive. "If the aliens land here," she told the gathered townspeople, "we make them pay for every street, every building, every room. No surrender. No prisoners. We fight until we win or until we're all dead." Similar scenes played out in every city, town, and village on Earth. Farmers had turned their equipment into weapons. Factory workers had converted their plants to produce ammunition. Retired soldiers came out of retirement to train civilians. Ben Clark worked in a steel factory in Detroit. Before the crisis, his plant made car parts. Now it made armor-piercing bullets and explosive devices. Ben and his team worked 20-hour shifts, sleeping only when exhaustion forced them to stop. "How many rounds did we produce today?" Ben asked his supervisor. 2 million, plus 50,000 of the special penetrator rounds Dr. Brooks designed. Ben wiped sweat from his forehead. "Not enough. We need more." All over Earth, similar conversations were happening. No matter how much they produced, it never felt like enough. But they kept working, driven by a determination that surprised even themselves. The aliens watched these preparations with growing confusion. Admiral Zektar had expected panic and chaos. Instead, he saw organization and purpose. Humans were behaving like a military species, not the frightened primitives he had expected. "Admiral," his intelligence officer reported, "the humans have mobilized their entire planet. Every individual appears to be participating in military preparation." "Impossible," Zektar replied. "Primitive species don't have that level of coordination. They're probably just panicking. Sir, our sensors detect massive industrial activity. They're producing weapons and ammunition at an unprecedented rate. Also, we're detecting strange energy readings from orbit around their planet." Zektar considered this information. "It doesn't matter. They have 7 hours left. When the ultimatum expires, we attack. Their resistance will collapse quickly once they see our true power." But Zektar was making the same mistake that many had made throughout human history. He was underestimating the power of a species fighting for survival. As the final hours counted down, President Walsh made one last broadcast to Earth and the colonies. Her image appeared on every screen, her voice carried to every human in the solar system. "My fellow humans, in 1 hour our ultimatum expires. The aliens expect us to surrender. They think fear will make us weak. They're wrong." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "For 50,000 years, humans have faced extinction. Ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, wars. Every time we survived because we refused to give up. Today is no different. The aliens have superior technology. They have bigger ships and more powerful weapons. But they don't have what we have. They don't have the will to fight for freedom. They don't have the courage to die rather than submit. They don't have humanity. In 1 hour, we go to war, not just for Earth, but for every free species in the galaxy. We fight so that no one will ever again have to choose between slavery and death. We fight because that's what humans do." The broadcast ended, and across the solar system, humans made their final preparations. Pilots climbed into their fighters. Soldiers checked their weapons. Civilians said goodbye to their families. On the alien flagship, the countdown reached 0. "Admiral," the communications officer announced, "the ultimatum has expired. The humans have not responded." Admiral Zektar smiled coldly. "Then we begin. Signal the fleet to advance. Destroy any ship that approaches our formation. Once we reach their planet, demonstrate our power by destroying one of their cities. They'll surrender quickly after that." The alien fleet began moving toward Earth, confident in their overwhelming superiority. They had used this strategy successfully for centuries. It had never failed. But they had never fought humans before. As the alien ships advanced, Captain Morrison's stealth squadron launched from hidden positions throughout the solar system. Dr. Brooks's satellite weapons came online, targeting systems locking onto the alien fleet. Colonel Davis led the main human fleet toward an intercept course. And on Earth, President Walsh sent one final message to the advancing aliens. You wanted our surrender. Instead, you get our defiance. Come and take our world if you can. The first shot of the war came from an unexpected source. Not from the massive alien dreadnoughts or Earth's main fleet, but from a small mining station hidden in the asteroid belt. Captain Morrison had positioned his stealth fighters throughout the solar system, waiting for the perfect moment. As the alien fleet passed through the asteroid field, moving in their standard formation with arrogant confidence, Jake gave the signal. All units, this is Liberty Leader. Light them up. 237 kinetic bombardment satellites opened fire simultaneously. Solid projectiles moving at incredible speed struck the alien ships from every direction. The aliens had been watching for energy weapons and missiles. They weren't prepared for chunks of dense metal moving faster than bullets. Admiral Zektar felt his flagship shake as impacts hammered the hull. Alarms blared throughout the bridge as damage reports flooded in. What's happening? He demanded. Admiral, we're under attack by kinetic projectiles. The source appears to be hidden weapons platforms throughout this system. Impossible. Our sensors showed no weapons. Sir, the platforms were disguised as communication satellites. They've been here for years. 3 alien dreadnoughts suffered critical damage in the first attack. One lost all power and began drifting helplessly. Another had its main weapons destroyed. A third was leaking atmosphere and fuel, but the aliens recovered quickly. Their remaining ships spread out and began returning fire, their energy weapons vaporizing satellites and asteroids. The humans had gotten the first surprise, but now the aliens were angry. Lieutenant Nina Foster piloted her stealth fighter through the chaos, her squadron darting between the massive alien ships like insects around giants. The aliens' weapons were powerful but slow to target small, fast-moving objects. Target the command ship, Nina told her pilots. Hit them with everything we have. Her squadron dove toward Admiral Zektar's flagship, plasma torpedoes streaming from their ships. The alien point defense systems managed to destroy half the incoming missiles, but the rest struck home. Explosions blossomed across the alien hull as human weapons found their mark. Nina's fighter shook as alien defensive fire passed close by. Her wingman wasn't so lucky. His ship disappeared in a flash of light as an energy beam caught him directly. Nina, this is command. Jake's voice came through her radio. Pull back. You've done enough damage. Negative, sir. We're not finished here. Nina led her remaining pilots in another attack run, this time targeting the aliens' weapon systems. Human fighters were smaller and more agile than anything the aliens had faced before. Their tactics were unpredictable and desperate. Meanwhile, Colonel Davis brought the main human fleet into the battle. 300 ships of various sizes faced 47 remaining alien dreadnoughts. It should have been a massacre, but the humans had learned from the first exchange. All ships, pattern Delta, Davis commanded. Don't try to match their firepower. Use speed and numbers. The human fleet split into dozens of small groups, each one attacking from a different direction. The aliens found themselves surrounded by fast-moving targets that refused to fight a traditional battle. Human ships would dart in, fire quickly, and retreat before the aliens could respond effectively. Dr. Brooks watched the battle from Earth's command center, monitoring the performance of her weapons. The kinetic satellites had worked better than expected, but now the aliens were adapting. They had spread their formation and were actively hunting for the remaining platforms. Activate the second wave, she ordered. Hidden weapons platforms throughout the inner solar system came online. These were different from the first attack. Instead of kinetic projectiles, they fired concentrated plasma beams that could cut through alien armor like paper. The aliens had never encountered weapons like these. Their shields were designed to stop energy attacks, but human plasma beams operated on different frequencies. Several alien ships found their defenses useless as human weapons carved deep wounds in their hulls. Admiral Zektar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His fleet was supposed to be invincible. They had conquered dozens of worlds without serious resistance, but these humans were fighting like nothing he had ever encountered. Sir, we've lost 8 ships completely. 15 more have significant damage. The humans are using tactics we've never seen before. They're primitives, Zektar shouted. How can they be winning? Admiral, I recommend we retreat and request reinforcements. No, we do not retreat from inferior species. Order all ships to focus fire on their main fleet. Destroy them all. But even as Zektar gave the order, he was beginning to realize that these humans were not inferior. They were different. And different in warfare often meant dangerous. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships darted in and out of the alien formation like angry hornets. Every time the aliens tried to organize a coordinated attack, human forces would strike from an unexpected direction. Lieutenant Steve Parker led a squadron of converted mining ships against an alien destroyer. The mining ships weren't designed for combat, but they carried powerful industrial lasers meant for cutting through asteroids. Against alien hull armor, the lasers worked just as well. Remember, Steve told his pilots, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to survive and hurt them as much as possible. His squadron attacked in waves, each ship making quick passes before retreating. The alien destroyer tried to turn to face them, but the human ships were too fast and too many. Slowly, the alien ship's defenses were worn down by the constant attacks. On Earth, Amy Johnson and her resistance cell watched the battle through telescopes and radio reports. They knew that if the human fleet lost, the aliens would land and the real war would begin. How are we doing? Asked Ben Clark, who had left his factory to join the local defense force. Hard to tell, Amy replied. Our ships are holding their own, but we're still outnumbered. This is going to be a long war. As the first day of battle ended, both sides counted their losses. The humans had lost 67 ships and most of their satellite weapons. Many brave pilots would never come home, but the aliens had lost 12 dreadnoughts completely destroyed and 18 more badly damaged. For the first time in their history, a hegemony fleet had taken serious casualties from a primitive species. Admiral Zektar sat in his damaged command chair, staring at reports he couldn't believe. His overwhelming technological advantage was being neutralized by human tactics he didn't understand. Sir, his intelligence officer approached carefully. We're receiving communications from other parts of the hegemony. Word of our difficulties is spreading. What kind of communications? Some of our conquered species are asking questions about human resistance, about whether the hegemony can be defeated. Zektar felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of death in battle, but fear that everything the hegemony represented might be challenged by these impossible humans. Captain Morrison regrouped his surviving fighters for the next phase of the battle. Half his pilots were gone, but the ones who remained had learned valuable lessons about fighting aliens. Sir, Nina Foster reported, the aliens are adapting to our tactics, but they're also making mistakes. They're angry now, not just confident. Jake nodded. Angry enemies make poor decisions. We need to keep pushing them, keep making them react instead of letting them plan. As the second day of war began, both sides prepared for continued fighting. The aliens still had superior numbers and technology, but the humans had something the aliens were beginning to fear. The humans had the will to fight against impossible odds, and in a war between species will mattered more than weapons. The battle for Earth was just beginning. 3 weeks into the war, everything had changed. What Admiral Zektar had expected to be a quick conquest had become a brutal campaign with no end in sight. The human resistance was not weakening, it was getting stronger. Dr. Alex Turner worked day and night in a converted laboratory, studying wreckage from destroyed alien ships. Each piece of technology told him something new about how the hegemony built their weapons and shields. Helen, look at this, he called to Dr. Brooks, who was working at a nearby station. Their shield generators use a rotating frequency pattern. If we can match the rotation and reverse it, we can punch holes in their defenses, Helen finished. How long to build a prototype? Give me 48 hours. While the scientists worked on new weapons, the military adapted their tactics based on hard-won experience. Colonel Davis had learned that alien ships were incredibly powerful but also predictable. They followed formations and strategies that had worked for centuries against other species. Humans, Davis realized, didn't fight like other species. New battle plan, he announced to his commanders. We stopped trying to fight their fleet directly. Instead, we attack their supply lines, their communication relays, their support ships. Make them chase us all over the solar system. Captain Morrison led the first raid on an alien supply convoy. His fighter squadron struck fast and disappeared before the escort ships could respond. The attack destroyed fuel tankers and ammunition ships that the alien fleet desperately needed. Good work, Davis told him afterward. How did they react? They sent a full battle group to chase us. 12 ships pulled away from the main fleet just to hunt down 20 fighters. Perfect. Every ship chasing you is one less ship attacking Earth. The new strategy worked better than anyone had hoped. Human forces began hitting alien targets throughout the solar system, forcing the hegemony to spread their fleet thin, trying to protect everything. But the aliens adapted too. Admiral Zektar requested reinforcements from Hegemony Command, and 3 weeks after the first battle, 50 more alien ships arrived in the solar system. Now we outnumber them 2-1, Zektar told his officers. Time to end this rebellion. However, the Admiral was about to discover that numbers alone wouldn't guarantee victory against humans. Lieutenant Nina Foster had been promoted to squadron leader after her original commander was killed in battle. She now led 40 fighters equipped with the new shield-penetrating weapons Dr. Turner had developed. Remember, she told her pilots before their mission, these new torpedoes can punch through their shields, but only if we hit them exactly right. One shot, then get out fast. Her squadron attacked the reinforcement fleet while it was still forming up with the original hegemony forces. The aliens expected the same hit-and-run tactics they had been dealing with for weeks. Instead, Nina's torpedoes went straight through their shields and exploded inside their ships. 4 alien dreadnoughts were destroyed before they understood what was happening. Impossible. Admiral Zektar watched the attack in shock. Their weapons shouldn't be able to penetrate our shields. Sir, the humans have been studying our technology. They're adapting faster than we anticipated. The Admiral felt something close to panic. The hegemony's greatest advantage had always been technological superiority. If humans could match or counter their technology, what did that mean for the Empire? Meanwhile, the war was spreading beyond space battles. Alien forces had attempted several planetary landings, trying to establish bases on Earth's surface. They quickly learned that conquering Earth from the ground would be even harder than winning in space. General Carl White commanded Earth's ground defenses, and he had prepared every continent for invasion. When alien troops landed outside Denver, they expected to face a primitive army with basic weapons. Instead, they encountered Amy Johnson's resistance cell, now expanded into a full military unit. The former Marine sergeant had trained 5,000 civilians in guerrilla warfare tactics. Wait until they're in the valley, she told her fighters, then hit them from all sides. The alien landing force walked into a carefully prepared trap. Hidden weapons opened fire from the surrounding hills while underground tunnels allowed human forces to attack from behind. The aliens found themselves surrounded and outmaneuvered by an enemy that refused to fight fair. Ben Clark operated one of the heavy weapons that pounded the alien formation. His factory-made ammunition proved devastatingly effective against alien armor. The industrial capacity that the aliens had hoped to capture was being used against them. How many? Amy asked as the battle ended. All of them, Ben reported. Not a single alien made it out of the valley. Similar scenes played out wherever aliens tried to land. Human defenders had turned entire continents into fortresses. Every city, every town, every village was ready to fight. The aliens were learning that humans didn't just fight with weapons. They fought with intelligence, creativity, and a determination that bordered on madness. After 6 weeks of war, Admiral Zektar received disturbing reports from across the hegemony empire. The news of human resistance was spreading to conquered worlds, and some were beginning to show signs of unrest. Sir, his intelligence officer reported nervously, we have uprising reports from the Centauri colonies, the Beta Eridani system, and 3 worlds in the Vega sector. Impossible. Those worlds have been pacified for decades. The rebel groups are using human tactics, sir. Hit-and-run attacks, guerrilla warfare, strikes against our supply lines. They're copying everything these humans have done. Zektar realized that his war against Earth had become something much bigger. The humans weren't just fighting for their own freedom. They were showing the entire galaxy that the hegemony could be resisted. Dr. Turner made another breakthrough when he figured out how to reverse engineer alien communication technology. Soon, human broadcasts were reaching every corner of hegemony space. This is Dr. Alex Turner of Earth, his message began. To all enslaved species listening to this broadcast, we want you to know that resistance is possible. The hegemony is not invincible. They can be defeated. The message included detailed tactical information about fighting hegemony forces, technical data about alien weaknesses, and most importantly, proof that humans were winning battles against superior enemies. The effect was immediate. Uprisings began on dozens of worlds as enslaved species decided to follow the human example. Admiral Zektar watched his empire beginning to crumble and made a desperate decision. He would commit his entire fleet to one massive assault on Earth. If he could destroy the human homeworld, the resistance movement might collapse. All ships, he ordered, prepare for final assault. We will overwhelm their defenses and end this war today. But as the alien fleet moved toward Earth for the decisive battle, they faced an enemy that had learned and adapted throughout the long campaign. Human forces were no longer the desperate defenders they had been at the start of the war. They were experienced veterans with weapons designed specifically to kill aliens. Captain Morrison prepared his fighters for what everyone knew would be the final battle. His squadron now included pilots from dozens of different worlds, humans who had volunteered from the outer colonies, and even some alien defectors who had joined the rebellion. "This is it," he told his pilots. "They're throwing everything they have at us. But we're not the same people who started this fight. We're stronger, smarter, and we know how to beat them." Lieutenant Steve Parker checked his weapons one final time. His ship now carried hybrid technology that combined human engineering with captured alien systems. It was faster and more deadly than anything either species had built before. "Sir," he reported to Morrison, "all squadrons ready. Let's show these aliens what humans can do." As the two fleets moved toward their final confrontation, the entire galaxy watched. The outcome would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of every enslaved world in hegemony space. The humans had already proven that the Empire could be challenged. Now they would show the galaxy that it could be defeated. The final battle began at dawn on Earth's eastern hemisphere. Admiral Zektar committed his entire remaining fleet, 73 ships, to one massive assault designed to break human resistance forever. The alien commander believed that overwhelming force would finally crush the spirit that had kept humans fighting for 2 months. He was about to learn his final lesson about humanity. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in Earth's command center, watching the alien fleet approach. Around her, displays showed the positions of every human ship, every defense platform, every hidden weapon that Earth had prepared for this moment. "All units, this is Admiral Carter," she broadcast to the entire human fleet. "Today we end this war. Today we show the galaxy that freedom cannot be conquered. All ships engage at will." The human fleet that rose to meet the aliens was unlike anything the hegemony had faced before. 2 months of constant warfare had transformed Earth's forces from desperate defenders into experienced warriors. Their ships now carried hybrid technology that combined the best of human and alien engineering. Captain Morrison led the first wave of fighters, but his squadron was no longer limited to human pilots. Alien defectors from a dozen species flew alongside humans, united in their hatred of the hegemony empire. "Remember," Jake told his mixed squadron, "we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every enslaved world in the galaxy." Lieutenant Nina Foster commanded a wing of the new hybrid fighters that Dr. Turner's team had developed. These ships were faster than human designs but more agile than alien craft. They carried weapons that could penetrate any known shield and armor that could withstand most energy attacks. "All wings, pattern Omega," Nina ordered. "Let's show them what we've learned." The human fighters struck the alien formation like a storm. But instead of the desperate attacks of the early war, this was coordinated precision warfare. Every pilot knew exactly what to do. Every ship moved in perfect harmony with the others. The aliens found themselves facing an enemy that had become their equal in technology and their superior in tactics. Dr. Helen Brooks watched the battle from her laboratory, monitoring the performance of her latest weapons. 2 months of studying alien technology had allowed her team to build devices that the hegemony had never imagined. "Activate the quantum disruptors," she ordered. Hidden throughout Earth's orbital space, new weapons came online. These didn't fire projectiles or energy beams. Instead, they disrupted the quantum fields that held alien matter together. Ships simply began falling apart at the molecular level. "What's happening to our ships?" Admiral Zektar demanded as he watched 3 dreadnoughts disintegrate without being hit by visible weapons. "Unknown, sir. They appear to be experiencing structural failure at the atomic level. Zektar felt true fear for the first time in his long military career. These humans had gone beyond adapting alien technology. They were creating weapons that the hegemony couldn't understand or counter. Colonel Ryan Davis led the main human fleet in a maneuver that would have been impossible 2 months earlier. His ships moved in perfect coordination, each group attacking from precisely the right angle to support the others. Human tactics had evolved from desperate improvisation to calculated precision. "Target their command ship," Davis ordered. "All squadrons converge on the flagship." The alien flagship found itself surrounded by human ships attacking from every direction. Zektar's defensive weapons couldn't target all the incoming threats simultaneously. Human torpedoes and energy beams hammered the massive ship from dozens of angles. "Sir, we're losing main power," his engineering officer reported. "Hull breaches on 15 decks. Weapons are failing." "Impossible," Zektar whispered. "We are the hegemony. We do not lose to primitives." But as his ship shook under continued human attacks, the admiral realized that these were no longer primitives. 2 months of war had transformed humanity into something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that became stronger with every battle. Lieutenant Steve Parker led his squadron in the attack that finally broke the alien formation. His fighters punched through the center of the hegemony fleet, destroying support ships and communication relays. Without coordination, the alien ships began fighting as individuals instead of as a unified force. Human tactics had been designed for exactly this moment. When alien coordination broke down, human ships were ready to exploit every weakness, every gap in their defenses. "Sir," Nina Foster reported to Captain Morrison, "alien fleet is breaking apart. They're trying to retreat." "Negative," Jake replied. "No retreat. No survivors. We end this here." The human fleet pursued the fleeing aliens throughout the solar system. This wasn't just about winning a battle anymore. It was about sending a message to every hegemony world that resistance was not only possible, but could result in total victory. General Carl White watched from Earth's surface as alien escape pods fell through the atmosphere. His ground forces were ready to capture any survivors, but they found something unexpected. Many of the aliens were surrendering willingly, begging for protection from their own empire. "They're afraid," Amy Johnson reported after interrogating captured aliens. "Not of us. Of what the hegemony will do to them for losing." Ben Clark, now a commander in the Planetary Defense Force, studied the alien prisoners. "They've been slaves too, just different kinds of slaves." This realization changed everything. The war wasn't just humans against aliens. It was free beings against an empire that enslaved everyone, including its own people. Dr. Alex Turner used captured alien communication equipment to broadcast throughout hegemony space. His message reached every conquered world simultaneously, showing the complete destruction of Admiral Zektar's fleet. "This is Earth calling all enslaved worlds," his transmission began. "The hegemony fleet sent to conquer us has been completely destroyed. Every ship, every alien commander. The Empire told you they were invincible. They lied." The broadcast included detailed footage of the final battle, showing human ships destroying alien dreadnoughts with ease. It also included technical specifications for the weapons that had made victory possible. "We're sharing our technology with you," Dr. Turner continued. "We're teaching you how to build the weapons that defeated the hegemony. You don't have to remain slaves. You can be free." The effect was immediate and devastating to the Empire. Uprisings began on every hegemony world, as enslaved species realized they could win their freedom. The technology and tactics that had saved Earth spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. President Katie Walsh made the final broadcast of the war, addressing not just humanity but every free being in the galaxy. 2 months ago, the hegemony came to Earth expecting easy conquest. They thought humans would surrender out of fear. "They were wrong about us and they're wrong about you." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "Freedom is not something that can be given or taken away. It's something that lives in the heart of every thinking being." The hegemony forgot that. Today the galaxy remembered. To every world still under hegemony control, we offer our support. Our ships, our weapons, our knowledge. Together we will free every enslaved species. Together we will make sure that no empire can ever again threaten the freedom of others. The war for Earth is over. The war for galactic freedom has just begun. Within days, human ships began leaving the solar system, carrying weapons and supplies to rebel forces throughout hegemony space. Earth had transformed from a target for conquest into the headquarters of a galaxy-wide liberation movement. Admiral Zektar, captured and imprisoned on Earth, watched reports of his empire's collapse with something approaching understanding. In his cell, he finally grasped what had made humans so dangerous. "You don't fight just for yourselves," he said to his human guard. "You fight for others, for species you've never met. Why?" The guard, a former factory worker named Ben Clark, thought for a moment before answering. "Because that's what makes us human. We believe that freedom belongs to everyone, not just us." Zektar nodded slowly. The hegemony had conquered dozens of worlds by convincing each species that they fought alone. Humans had shown the galaxy that no one had to fight alone. 3 months after the first alien ultimatum, Earth stood at the center of a growing alliance of free worlds. The hegemony empire was crumbling as liberated species joined the fight for galactic freedom. Captain Morrison, now an admiral commanding the Liberation Fleet, prepared for humanity's next mission. His ships carried the latest hybrid technology and crews that included beings from dozens of different worlds. "Ready for departure, sir," Lieutenant Foster reported. She now commanded her own ship, leading a squadron of vessels crewed by former slaves from across the galaxy. "Destination?" Morrison asked. "The hegemony capital world, sir. It's time to finish what they started." As the human fleet prepared to leave Earth orbit, they carried with them more than just weapons and ships. They carried an idea that was spreading throughout the galaxy, that freedom was worth fighting for, that empires could be defeated, and that no being should live as a slave. The aliens had come to Earth expecting to add another world to their empire. Instead, they had awakened something that would ultimately destroy everything they had built. They had awakened humanity. And humanity, once awakened, would not rest until every being in the galaxy was free.